Plot: Rogue One, a Star Wars story, 2016. In a time of conflict, a group of unlikely heroes band together on a mission to steal the plans to the Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon of destruction. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television until they off this movie with audio descriptions. They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast that looks at new movies and ones from a long, long time ago and asks just how far, far away are we from a galaxy with good blind representation. My name is Scott McLeod.
I'm Melissa Bukta.
And this is a very exciting episode because we started this podcast at completely on purpose, or not on purpose, in the end of February in 2020. And we're like, great, we'll do a podcast. We're going to have lots of guests on all the time because, you know, people could just come to each other's houses and like it's very easy to be around other people.
Absolutely. I've done that for a few podcasts myself.
Yeah. So then, you know, COVID. So now that we are a year and a half into the podcast, we have our first guest. Hi! Just very exciting. And maybe this will open up the doors for more to come. But it is,
please.
Yes. It is a longtime listener of the podcast. No.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, I mean, to me, the biggest credit you have is creating my existence in the world.
That's true.
Which is kind of important to me, so.
It was important to me, too. It took a lot of work.
I know, but it's my mom. Ivy Ratafia is your stage name, so
yeah.
I'm using it here.
Nice. Thank you.
I just have a different last name, so that's why I felt.
Welcome. We are so jazzed and so happy to have you on. Thank you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
And we are excited to have you on because it is we're watching Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and you know a lot about the various Star Wars stories and you have a good...
I have seen all of the movies, yes, and I have very unpopular opinions about them.
Yay!
So,
Good.
yeah.
It's good to have three female-identifying people, to some extent, on a podcast about Star Wars and have unpopular opinions about it.
Oh, I can't wait. Come at me, Star Wars bros. I can't wait.
I love Star Wars, but I love Star Wars if you only count the very first movie, which is not Star Wars 1. They're now calling it Star Wars 4.
Right.
I was 16 years old when it came out. I saw it at just the right age, and I saw it 15 times before it left the theater.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, okay,
Love that movie.
why? So 15 times. So what kept bringing you back to see it over and over again?
Mark Hamill.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Had a t-shirt with Mark Hamill on
Nice.
it. I had the poster. I had everything. No, it was not like anything we'd ever seen. And even though you watch that movie now and the special effects look really dopey, they were awesome in 1977. They were amazing. We saw a trailer for it with my mom. And when R2-D2 gets shot and then falls in the trailer, my mom said, "They killed him!"
Oh, no.
And I thought, if a piece of tin falling down elicited that reaction in a trailer, that this had to be something amazing.
I mean, I think that's more Grammy, though.
Well, that's true.
Just very sensitive to creatures similar to dogs in any way, like small creatures you could protect dying.
Yes, you're right.
But
I still love it. It's still...
Yes,
favorite.
you are, in my head, when I think of a Star Wars fan, I think of you, just because you are the most of a Star Wars fan that I know.
I had the pleasure of seeing A New Hope in theaters as well, actually. I saw it for the re-release in the 90s, I think it was. I don't exactly remember the year, but they did do the whole remastered re-release, and they released all three of them at the same time. And my vision teacher took me at the time, actually.
Oh, cool.
It was a fun outing. Like, I think we were doing orientation mobility, but like the reward was we're going to walk to the theater and see Star Wars. And I'm leaving with my teacher, and my mom is like prepping me for this movie or whatever. And she's like, okay, it's going to be really loud, and there's going to be lots of fighting in space. And if you get scared, you can always leave.
And then how would you get home?
Right, exactly. I'm like, no. Luckily, I didn't get scared, and I didn't need to leave.
You as a blind person wandering the streets being like, Star Wars was too loud for me.
I
my own way home.
Okay, I have to tell you my very, very favorite story of when we saw it. So we saw it like the day it opened because we were really ready for it. And then like a week or two later, we were in Las Vegas with my parents and in the motorhome, and we were watching my brother because we couldn't do anything. My sister and I were 16 and 15. So we were in the motorhome watching my, 6-year-old brother, 7-year-old, whatever he was. And the radio was on, and they played the theme to Star Wars because that was a big hit. That, and also there were several songs from Star Wars that got airplay on the radio.
So cool.
And they were playing
funny.
one, and this is on a pop station. And after it was over, the DJ said, "So, have you seen Star Wars yet?" And I looked and I said, "Yes." And he said, "How many times?" And I said, 3. And he said, "Only 3?" And I stared at the radio.
I was
my
gonna
gosh.
have you tell that story because I always think of it.
It was so
I love it.
weird. It was so
Oh my
awesome.
gosh.
Very funny.
That's like whenever my brother and I watch it, A New Hope especially, and Obi-Wan is talking about, how long, a very, very long time. His line is a very, very long time. And then, but before you're supposed to ask him, like, how long? Because there's this really weird, awkward pause that, like, lasts for minutes. So my brother and I are always like, how long?
It's like when you're in Rocky,
I
when
was
you're like,
gonna say,
wait
it's
for
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
It's a very...
My brother and I, especially with 4, 5, and 6, I mean, we would have...
Or 1, 2, and 3, as my mom would say.
See, for me, they were 1, 2, and 3.
It's
Right.
very confusing.
Right.
I guess you have to say -3 would be what's considered the first movie.
Well, okay, so the
Negative.
first movie,
Or
the first
2.
set of
Negative
movies, the
4.
first trilogy. But at least once a year or something, him and I would stay up all night and watch all 3 of them. And usually my mom would find us conked out at the end of Return of the Jedi. Just we didn't make it, but yeah.
It's funny because if it was -3, then 0 would be Rogue One, which would be just very confusing.
Well, Rogue One is like the War Doctor. Rogue One is like 0.5 kind of. I mean,
Rogue One is
so
taking
as someone
place-
who has famously seen the Christmas special twice
God.
and no other Star Wars.
That is ridiculous. Are you sure? I'm sure I
No,
took you
I
to
think
see
as
it.
a child I
As a
saw
child.
one of the prequels but it was like the second one, and I had no idea what was going on. And
the
every
prequels
time
were terrible. Nobody had any idea
the
what was
prequels
going
were
on.
awful.
Right.
No.
So when I
No.
tell people, I'm like, yeah, Star Wars is weird. It's like it's very 90s and it makes no sense. Or it's a Christmas special.
The Christmas
It's
special is
mostly
the
like
worst.
It's terrible.
Ewoks.
I remember my mom
It's so
kind of sort of dragging me to see Revenge of the Sith because I was just after the second the Clone Wars broke me essentially. It is so boring.
I didn't realize that it was literally called the Clone Wars in the
Episode 2.
Because in
Yeah.
this movie, it's like, remember the Clone Wars.
No, they talk about the Clone Wars all the time,
Yes.
which is why they went and made that movie.
I see, okay.
But for me, I saw the first one 15 times. I saw the second one 3 times in the theater, and I saw the third one once, and then I saw every other movie once. I actually, except for the newer ones, because I like those better. I like, without Mark Hamill or, why am I...
Like Carrie Fisher or no?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. Okay.
I don't know why his name. I'm old, so the names
It's
just
okay.
go away. Yeah, but without the
do
three
this.
of them, it's really hard for me to enjoy a Star Wars movie. Clearly,
I get that.
Even
I
if it's
understand.
a Star Wars story.
No, the Star Wars story was lots of fun. I actually.
How
you know,
many times did you see this in the theaters?
This one once. In the
Same
theaters.
here.
One.
once.
Rogue
in the
One.
theaters.
Rogue One, yes, because I don't know. Are we allowed to spoil things?
Yeah. Oh,
We always spoil things on this
yes.
podcast.
Hello. Obviously, we will be spoiling Rogue One. So if you haven't seen it, stop listening and go watch it because it's. I think it's pretty good.
It's a fun movie, but
fun,
no, everybody dies at the end, and I just, if everybody dies at the end, I don't tend to go back and see it again.
Because you're like, well, they're dead, so what's the point?
Right. I think that's one of the roadblocks that kept me from rewatching this one as many times as I've rewatched the other ones. Because I saw this in the theaters too, and I quite enjoyed myself until you hit that ending, and
Right,
it's like
exactly.
I really fell in love, especially rewatching it again. I remembered, I'm like, wow, I really love all these characters. I love them.
Yeah,
And then they just one by one are slaughtered.
they're just killed. It's
Yeah.
just horrible.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's true. That is a lot of very likable characters, so it is kind of a depressing thing to rewatch in a bigger cinematic universe, because you're like, they could have, like, it's not like a one-off movie where you're like, oh, well, that was the whole story, so it just kind of stays there. But it's like, you could have had these characters come back in other movies, theoretically. I guess since
Sure,
it's right before the 3 movies that already existed, they would have to be much old. Like, when does the
Yeah, well, see, that's the
final
thing. It
ones
takes
take place?
This movie takes place right before the original trilogy, which is now the second trilogy, but is really the original trilogy, took place, because it
Right.
sets up what happens in A New Hope, which was just called Star Wars back in the day.
Right. You're basically learning why and answering the burning question of like how and why the Death Star was so easy to destroy if you just hit
Right.
that one point.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I don't mind that I know that reason. Like when I watched the original trilogy for the first time, I wasn't dying to know, oh, well, why is that though? Why if you hit this one little tiny point, the whole thing just goes
Well,
up in flames.
Okay, you have to know that in 1977 there was a lot of people talking about
Yeah,
how silly
I'm
that
sure.
was. But they build this huge thing and they have all this, and there's a
Just coming
place that
from-
you can just hit.
Yeah, coming from not knowing that, I was like, if that is canon, like, then okay,
Yes, it is.
It is very
then
canon.
how did people
Absolutely.
wait 3 decades for that to be answered? Because how could you possibly, like, that was, I mean, that makes perfect
Well, the
sense
thing
to
about
me.
Star
that you would
Wars
need
is
that.
a lot of it doesn't make any sense.
No.
I mean, first of all, when George Lucas wrote Star Wars, I think, there was like a dream of writing the other two, but it's very clear that Luke and Leia were not intended to be siblings in the first movie. Luke
there's,
and
like,
Leia are
weird
definitely
sexual
the
tension.
love interests. They are the couple in the movie. Han Solo is just there to add tension, and then as the movie goes, they I guess people liked Harrison Ford better than they liked Mark Hamill. I don't know why. But because of that, they kind of veered the relationship in a different direction. But there's a lot wrong with all of the movies. There's a lot that doesn't make sense if you actually
Think
think
about
about
it.
it. So you
Yeah.
can't-
So that's, but then I guess it is kind of funny to answer the one question that is,
It's a burning question.
Yeah, why?
Why did they-
And to be honest, I'm okay with this answer. I truly am. And now we get to, like, it's just more lore on top of lore on top of lore. But this is
they don't
cool
need
lore.
to die, though.
Yeah. Well,
No, well, okay, look. So, okay, before we started recording, we were kind of talking about this too. And I, from a writing standpoint, from a story standpoint, I think that's a really bold choice to just kill everybody.
It seems convenient to me
awful.
because then you don't have to deal with these characters ever again.
yeah, exactly. Because these characters don't appear in the next 3 movies, which take place concurrently with it, to say, well, the reason they don't is because
they
they're
all
all dead.
died.
And I think there's a reference to, lots of people died getting us this information, so therefore, look,
Here's
lots of people died.
Here they are.
Here they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
And actually, it just so happens one of those people that helped is blind.
Is blind, which is the whole reason why we're talking about Rogue One. And I knew going in that, our blind character is not the main character of the story. He is one of the rogues, one of the crew. But actually, I was pleasantly surprised seeing, oh yeah, he got a lot of stuff to do, which was nice.
So I read an interview with him where they were talking, and actually him being blind was his idea.
Oh, that's so cool.
He just thought, wouldn't it be cool if I had all these cool lines, but that I was also blind?
Yes.
And it was completely his idea.
Wait, and he's a sighted actor, though,
He
right?
is a completely sighted actor. He just thought it would be fun for the character.
Donnie Yen, for the record, is.
And they spent a lot of time talking with the director and discussing the character and what he wanted to do with the character. He was supposed to make a different movie, and he almost said no to this, but then his kids were like, no, do Star Wars.
Or you can't not do Star Wars. Yeah.
So he did the
That's
Star
so
Wars movie, but it was
cool.
his idea, and the contacts that he wears made everything really blurry. So he could
I
barely
imagine
see
so,
when he
yeah.
had them on anyway.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he has a pretty decent performance.
I thought so.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, on this podcast, we come down hard on the blind people should get blind roles, but I do
Yes.
kind of like that, like, because the representation of a blind person is not that bad in this movie, and so
Right.
to have it be the actor's idea is kind of sweet, even if it is a sighted actor, because it still works as a blind character.
And even though it is a bit of a stereotype of like the Eastern
That's
warrior
true,
monk,
yeah.
in this universe it works. Like he's a force user.
Everyone's
He's-
a weird stereotype of something.
Yeah,
But
it's
what
so true.
what makes me so happy about all this new Star Wars content that we're being inundated with is there are people of color in this universe. There are disabled people in this universe. There are LGBTQ
There are
people in
disabled
this
people
universe.
of color in this.
Well, yeah, you know, yes. But if you take just the original trilogy, it's except for
white.
Lando, it's
Yeah,
very
it's
white.
very white.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why Lando was brought in. I mean, I always assumed you had to have a token black guy in it eventually. I
Well,
love
there
Lando,
you go.
so you know,
Lando,
I adore Lando.
no hate
But
for Lando.
Token
Lando's great.
was-
I
I mean-
loved the movie, the Han Solo movie.
Yes, it was so
I
good.
love that movie.
I
love
feel-
both of them.
Yes, I feel like we're kind of the few outliers because Solo was. There's a lot of
hated
people
it.
who hate Solo, and I'm like, you know, it's really not
I-
that bad.
Going into it, it was two actors that I adore playing the two lead roles.
There you
so
go.
There was
Yeah.
no way I wasn't going to like it.
They brought a bunch of Solo props and costumes to Rose City in 2019, and I just stood there looking at Lando's costume, and I'm like, Childish Gambino had that on his body. Oh my god. Anyway, his
Yep.
costume's
So
amazing though. So is he.
Yes.
Yeah, this I know all about this stuff.
Have you not even seen Solo?
No, why would I have seen Solo if I've not seen any of the Star Wars movies?
Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I loved Solo.
I like Rogue One and Solo, both like single, very weird.
Yes.
This is one thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
one
Well,
thing.
and
They're
I
like
felt,
after all these Clone Wars, people don't like.
Well, and I felt a little bad for you because Rogue One doesn't start with the traditional crawl either that all the others start with, and that's just like you want to get amped for something like.
I was
like you're-
surprised by that too.
Yeah.
It's almost
because
like
it's a Star Wars story.
Right.
it's,
right.
but it's weird because they say a long, long time ago, but it literally looks like if you just were like, okay, you're in Final Cut and you're just gonna write like, okay, we have to say a long, long time ago, and then you just forget to do anything else, but like just write it on a title card with like the
and then
default
the movie
font.
just starts.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're like, and then it's a movie, and I'm like, what? Where's it sliding?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is. I mean, I have lived in this country in the 90s, aughts and teens,
Oh,
so
God.
that has given me a lot of just overall Star Wars
Yeah.
info, but not necessarily in any coherent,
I clearly have failed as a parent.
I know. You feel so bad about this. I think it's part of my teenage rebellion,
Yeah,
or
I
like
think so.
adult rebellion.
One of my young cousins got introduced to Star Wars very early, like I think he was 4 or 5, and you know his mother was so worried Darth Vader is gonna like terrify him or whatever, and the exact opposite.
He just wants to become Darth
He just
Vader.
wants to be a Sith now. So when Thanksgiving rolled around and all the kids were doing their little, I'm thankful for blah 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 projects or whatever, he's like, I'm thankful for mommy and daddy and Darth Vader. And it's like framed. I think it's still hanging on the wall. He's like in his teens now.
So funny.
It's wonderful.
I like how that we got to see Darth Vader in this movie for two minutes.
Yeah,
Not
and
just
But
enough
it's
time
an
to get our
amazing
chords.
2 minutes.
Just to get enough, like it was just the main chords.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, next scene.
And then you got to see Peter Cushing back from the dead, too, which was
oh,
very eerie.
So eerie. Oh,
especially
man.
the first time. And then you get to see Leia young again, too.
Okay, so
Which was also weird.
wait, and
very
so
weird.
you were saying that he is the dad of who is the guy that they did the first guy that's not Leah that they did the
wait,
the
Peter
CGI.
Cushing?
Yeah, which character does he play? You said to
Tarkin.
me
He
Tarkin,
plays
Grand Moff
Tarkin. Yeah.
who is the
He's the bad guy.
bad
He's
guy.
one
Yeah.
of the big
Okay,
bad.
okay,
Yeah, he's
I
one
see.
of the big baddies.
because you said it to me and you pointed to the screen and I'm like blind, so I was just like, okay, mom.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
You know, I really felt for I always want to call him Cardinal, but that's not his name. The villain that we get in this movie too.
Oh, yeah.
I really feel for him because he had to do all of these scenes with nobody. And I think he pulls it off pretty well.
There was an actor playing Tarkin, but clearly CGI over because that was so very, Peter Cushing and not.
Right.
Yeah, that's so creepy.
It is very creepy. No, that was one of the first places I think they did that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we all saw it, it was freaking us out type crazy. And when Leia turns around and you have young Leia, it just freaks
so
you out.
It is
Weird.
creepy.
Yeah.
Because I knew, like, Leah well enough to be like,
Well, and they spent all their time on Moff Tarkin, and I know you only get Leia for that one last scene, but she looks like she stepped out of one of the video games, and I'm like, yikes! Like y'all couldn't have just not
creepy.
or her face,
I know,
or
it's
had a
well, we
double.
gotta
or...
find the most weird, out of the box, like, special effects that will look so dated within, like, 10 years of making, like, every single time. They have to find different ways to make it look dated in the future. So they can always have that feeling of, like, just a very recent time ago where we did not know how to do special effects. But-
In Mandalorian, they do that with Luke. They have a young
Yep.
Luke.
Is
which
it better
freaks you
now?
out.
Is it so creepy?
It's better,
It's
but
better, but it's not.
it's weird.
Well, it's weird.
It's just always weird.
It's
Yeah,
the
I don't
uncanny
think-
valley. We'll never get across it.
Well, I think the original one was like Tupac, I guess. I was there.
Oh, the
Coachella.
there,
Tupac
yeah.
hologram. Yeah.
I was there.
Nice. That's a good fun fact.
Yeah.
Put that in your back pocket.
Yeah, there's some random things I was there for. Good. But yeah, that is such a creepy. It's funny because BoJack did that whole thing. Like I was thinking of the
BoJack's
BoJack stuff.
animated.
No, but
they
they
get
had
away with it.
There's an entire subplot. No, so they have an entire subplot where they're like, we don't need you to act anymore because if you like have a mental breakdown or something, we just have your face like
Right.
like digitalized so we can make you in the movie. And then he winds up
And
not being in the movie.
that's all commenting on what is actually happening right now.
Right, but it
which-
was like slightly before. I think that subplot was to the point where I thought it was really funny when this stuff was coming out about Star Wars, where I was like, "Oh, BoJack did that a few years ago." Like it's they're good at like just very slightly predicting what was on the horizon or like getting I don't know. BoJack's a great show, but yeah, that's what I think of every time I think of all the weird Star Wars things. I don't know. I wonder if this will be done again because it is kind of creepy. So,
well,
in other franchises,
it already yes. The answer to your question is yes.
Oh no.
It's still being done. I mean, Tron Legacy, which I can't remember if
But
that
Tron
came
is
before.
already so weird.
Right.
Wait, is that the newer Tron?
The newer one.
Wait,
Yes.
How many? It's the second. It's the remake.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's in
That was a
It's
while
not
ago.
Remake.
No.
It's a sequel.
No.
You're right. It is a sequel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's all about, his dad is there. It's the
Right.
son looking for his dad who disappeared into Tron and
Right.
hasn't been seen since.
But there's a
I just remember
full.
Daft Punk.
There's a full. Yes. The soundtrack to Tron Legacy kicks ass.
Tron.
Yes. But Jeff Bridges, young Jeff Bridges, he's a full CGI character.
It's every time you see somebody that you know is older and you see them young,
yeah.
it freaks you out.
Yep.
even if it's done perfectly,
Yep.
because
Yeah, 'cause
you
you know
know
them.
It's like, oh, look, Judy Garland back from the dead. It's
Sure.
going to freak you out,
Yes.
even if it's really well done.
Samuel Jackson in Captain Marvel looked great. Like they de-aged him, but again,
They should
he's
get
old.
They should
Right.
cast up and coming actors to get to play younger. I mean, I guess the problem is if you have this content you can go back to, it's obviously, whereas like in a movie it's like you don't have another version of someone as a teenager, so you could just cast a different actor to be a teenager, and that's like a movie convention. Then you have them grown up, so you have multiple actors. But I guess if they've already been in a movie at the right age, then you
Well,
can't do that as easily.
One of my favorite
Yeah.
stories about this kind of thing is in Looper. I love Looper. It's one of my favorite time travel movies. Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, I remember
Joseph
that was the whole
Gordon-Levitt, plays the younger Bruce Willis, and the reason why poor Joseph Gordon-Levitt had to wear all the prosthetics and everything, which he doesn't look too bad, was because Bruce Willis is just like, I'm not putting any of that shit on my face. So poor, because like he's not, because they're like, well, we could do something to make you look a little bit more like Joseph, or to make Joseph look a little bit more like you. Like we'll split the difference, and he's just like,
Nope.
no.
That's so funny. What a diva.
He's such a diva, but that movie's great.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, okay, so this movie is a blind character.
I knew this. I knew this would be Tangent City, and I'm not mad about it. Honestly,
it's definitely, when you think of the Star Wars franchise as a whole and talk about it, you're not like, we gotta talk about that blind character, this minor character in
which
Rogue One.
sucks because
But evidently
Donnie
he
Yen's such a cool
was
character.
very popular. So after the movie came out, according to this interview,
See, this is why I didn't do research. I mean,
Yeah. He was one of the people that everybody loved. He was like everybody's favorite character from the movie.
Yeah, because he's
He
very
was an awesome
likable character.
He is
Yeah.
an awesome character.
Well,
and
just from doing this podcast and all of the terrible like representations of blindness we watch, I was like, yeah, kicking ass. I like how because he has his like his basically sight guide aid, but it's like a
Yes.
sight guide aid who like fucking destroys it just blasts everyone. to
I'm
smithereens.
here for Baze. Baze is awesome.
I loved that. I love that he's like a decent fighter, but I just love that he also got the assistance of another person, like a blind person. It's like it made me really happy because I feel like that's a common relationship that a blind person has with a sighted person.
Yeah,
and to see it as from a very ridiculous setting, and that it's such a ridiculous thing that he's destroying everything in his wake. But they're both so capable, and they have such a great relationship with each other. I mean, I really like that. We haven't seen anything like that yet.
Right. I really wished it could have gone just quite a step further. I know we weren't quite there. Disney may never get there, but these dudes are in a relationship. Convince me that they're not.
Yeah.
They are.
You're
Is this
absolutely
their new-
100%.
Oh, come on, he
This
died
is the
in
new
his
street.
arms.
Yes.
And then he got
And
killed
then-
because everybody had to die.
I know, but he's the next one to go.
That was so
Yeah.
sad.
And I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah, they definitely.
They're
yeah.
in a they're in a relationship.
It's sweet. They're like
It's
a.
they're
nice.
so sweet.
It's
Yeah.
very
adorable.
sweet. They're both so like protective of each other. They're both like very capable. Yeah, I thought it was really sweet. Yes.
Well, and I mean, when we meet Chirrut, his first scene with the stormtroopers and everything, it's so dope. That's the only way I can describe it. It's amazing. I mean, also because Donnie Yen's a martial arts master, so you
Yeah, I
get
was
to
gonna
see.
say, he knows martial arts.
Right. So like, I'm sure him and the director were just like, okay, yeah, you're gonna do this.
Did
thing.
he like learn blind judo like our other guys?
that? I don't know.
Conrad is obsessed with blind judo. He keeps telling me about it and like Googles what is like available in Portland. And he was like, "Oh, there was a blind judo event in September of 2017, where the blind athletes of the Northwest or whatever teamed up with Portland judo." I was like, "Okay."
Oh my god. I mean, not gonna lie, I would love to cosplay as Chirrut. I think that would be super cool. And they even integrated, we're always like, woe is me, this character doesn't have a cane. Like, they even gave him a cane and made it work.
I loved that. I loved that so much.
He had a battle cane, for God's sake.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he knew where people were. He was able to fight, but yet when he had to go get the switch, he had to look around for it.
Yeah.
With his hands. He didn't know instantly where it was, which would have just been a little bit too far. So
Right. I loved that, and that he really, you didn't, there wasn't a moment of like too much of a magical blind person
and
moment.
Isn't that interesting? Because he came on screen and instantly I was like, oh great, I know we're gonna have another Super Crypt discussion. And I don't think we necessarily have to have that. Like,
he seemed disabled in the world of Star Wars.
Right.
Because everyone is such a, like, adequate, very precise fighter that you're not having, like, oh, look at this disabled person who's magically so good at everything.
Right.
But, like, really, he just felt like this is what a disabled person could be in this universe.
And his fighting style made sense because he's living in Jeddah. He probably studied at the Jedi Temple, before all of that collapsed, and so that's where he could have gained his fighing prowess.
Blind Jedi.
It just makes sense.
Yeah. Wait. So when he chants,
he is not a Jedi.
No,
he is not a Jedi.
He just chants the Force thing.
Right. He chants the Force thing because he believes it. Now, clearly, he does have some connection to the Force because he was able to walk through all of that without getting hit.
It was very Book of
So
Eli.
therefore,
yes.
But he is not a Jedi. But he was the guard of something that wasn't there anymore because they said that at the beginning. They set that up, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, because he was
they said the two of them were guarding
stones. I remember that's how they set him up, as being like some sort of thing relating to which I guess give the lightsabers power, but that seemed like it wasn't really dealt with in the movie that much.
It was the stones,
the Kyber Crystals,
the Kyber Crystals, which
but they were all gone.
Yes,
is that important later on, or in the prequels or something?
Okay, so Kyber Crystals, like you said, are basically how the Jedi power their lightsabers, essentially, and the Empire is looking for the Kyber Crystals because that's what makes the Death Star work. But the Empire has been like going all over the galaxy and murdering Jedi and destroying their temples and trying to get as many and their hands on as much as much Kyber Crystals as they can.
Right.
Because you can, like, you have a Jedi and you have a Sith, and depending on who gets the Kyber Crystals, you can taint the Kyber Crystals basically and turn them evil or turn them to the dark side.
Interesting. It's kind of like how they also have the robot that's on the...
Oh, I love K2SO.
What's really funny is I was trying to remember when we first see him, we know that he is an assassin bot. I mean, I looked at him and I'm like, he's an assassin bot.
Yep.
So it must have been in another movie that they established that he was an assassin bot and expected everybody to know that. Because he was a converted assassin. Yeah, they talk about him being converted, but I remember something somewhere where they converted one. But I don't remember.
I mean,
where.
that happened in The Mandalorian with IG-88. Like, that's how he became a nurse droid, basically.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Because I don't remember if there's...
I didn't find it confusing, and I've never seen other Star Wars things.
Because I don't remember K2SO anywhere else except for here.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It could just be that I saw the movie before, and that's why.
Well, also, have to mention, voiced by the amazing Alan Tudyk.
I kept being like, every time when he's a spaceship, I'm like, you're going to get fucking stabbed. Any moment now.
Don't let him drive.
It really stressed me out, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, we can take solace in the fact that he goes out like a boss, but still.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it's very intentional, at least.
Everybody has to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, gosh, there's a lot of things. Well, first of all, not having any Star Wars knowledge. There's definitely some things that I was trying to understand would be more, but I don't know, but maybe there's some things that were easier for me because I was just taking the movie at face value.
This movie goes fast. That's one of the things that I noticed on rewatch, especially in the first half an hour, 45 minutes. They have to establish so much. We are planet hopping, and everything is happening.
And it's 2 hours and 14 minutes long, so it's still
and it's just
long,
like picking up. And I'm sitting there. I was thinking there. sitting there thinking, oh my God, Sky's going to hate this. There's so much happening.
Well, what was really
but the audio descriptions is pretty good.
Yeah, what was really funny is Sky had me watch it with the audio descriptions. And because of that, I was far more aware at how much planet hopping we were doing. I think when it just goes there, you just internalize it. But when they're saying, and now we're here, and now we're here, it becomes more concrete and you're much more aware of it.
Right.
Well, that's like, yeah, I mean, we were talking about, at one point we were talking about The Mandalorian, how Conrad would, without me, was watching it and just kept the audio descriptions on because it was easier to understand what was going on because they give all the details. And so I think that, like, that is kind of a cool additional thing.
I gotta give props to Disney Plus. The audio description on any Star Wars material is immaculate.
Yeah, it was
I
really
bet
good.
they hired
Amazing.
some people to really like go through and do the audio descriptions well. And like, cause it's interesting. You need to have knowledge of the Star Wars universe and a lot of so I bet they probably had the same people working on all the movies. So you could kind of like get a knowledge base around all of the different things to describe. And then you can put more work in it. But I really wish they did that with more stuff. And they got like even things that are specific to like cultures that are not Star Wars cultures, but actual cultures in the real world, like getting audio description that's also culturally specific too, because sometimes I'll like watch stuff where I'm like, oh, I wish they like knew more about different cultures.
It was very
in audio
clear
description.
that whoever wrote the description really knew the universe. I mean, they were picking up things that were just really, there are things I hadn't noticed that they were noticing. And
yeah, no, I think this is an official, like, first of all, it's really great to think about how audio descriptions can be, because I'm a big proponent of, like, we should just keep the audio descriptions in all the movies in the theater. We shouldn't have to, like, miss the first 10 minutes because we're waiting for, like, some person who's been working there for 3 years and still has never had to give a blind person the audio description, so they're giving you the wrong thing, and then we miss 15 minutes of the movie. Just be on the screen the whole time. We should just have audio descriptions baked into everything.
Yeah, people want that for subtitles too.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
they're kind of I mean, I am down for that if we also do audio descriptions. As someone with only peripheral vision, they're extremely distracting. But,
I find them very distracting.
Yeah, I honestly don't much like them either, because then I'm trying to read them and I can't.
Exactly. And then
mom
you're
loves
such a
them.
headache.
And she watches everything with them. And I have to sit there trying really hard not to look at the bottom of the screen because they give away what's going to happen next half the time. Or they're wrong, or it's different, and it just
Well, sometimes audio descriptions will do a similar thing of like being, and I don't think it necessarily in this movie, but sometimes I've definitely watched a decent amount of stuff where there's just a long time of silence, and most of the silence not related to things happening, but near the end of the silence more important things happen, so they use that silence to like give a lot of information, and so sometimes you do actually know what's
there
about
was
to happen.
one or two times where they described something that hadn't quite happened yet.
Yeah, it's a pretty common
bit
thing
before.
that happens in audio description.
And I think with all the Star Wars movies, this is definitely something I would want to watch once or twice with the AD, and then the third, fourth time around maybe not, because I love sound, I love music, and these just meticulous sound effects, meticulous music. I mean, everything is just so amazing and constructed. Like, I want to hear it.
It's a difficult balance. I think like making the mix so that you can still understand what people are saying, but still getting the rich sound effects can be definitely a challenge.
When I saw the very, very first Star Wars movie the first time, it wasn't until the third time watching it that I noticed the music.
Oh,
and
wow.
My husband, it wasn't until the second time he saw it that he noticed the music, because the story was so intense that you were paying attention to it. And then, like I said, all of the music became
I was going to say,
massive hits.
Yes.
So you started recognizing it just from that. And you
now
got to
watching
a point
this,
where you recognized everybody's theme. And in this movie, you could hear some of it come back. Like, oh, Darth Vader's walking in. Let's get
That's what
Darth
I was
Vader's
saying
music.
before.
And-
Darth Vader was just like there for his chords and then left. And it seems to be the only purpose of him being there.
I think Michael Giacchino, who scored this film, I think he did a really great job of making the music his own, but also including, because you have to at this point. You have to.
You have to.
But there are leitmotifs and threads of John Williams music woven in to the movie, and I think it works. I'm kind of a simp for Michael Giacchino anyway, so yeah.
Yeah.
He's an
They're-
amazing musician.
Star Wars also is a movie that wears how much money it must have cost on its like right front and center. I feel like the amount of like for me just watching it, I was just thinking about just all the money that the sets, the special effects, the fact that they brought people back from the dead that got cost money. Like it's just so much. Like it is pretty. It's pretty amazing how much money goes into
and
it.
I guess because of characters like Ahsoka Tano in the Clone Wars in the animated series, which is fantabulous, by the way. There's a lot of it, but it's real good. But Ahsoka Tano, Padme Amidala, Leia. I mean, now we can have characters like Jen Erso, like Rey, like Rose, like all of these amazing kick-ass ladies, and you can center a story around a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
People were upset when Rey was the main character, and I was just appalled at our human race.
I mean, there's a lot of that going around. It's kind of a bummer that like just cis females were. I'm like, we're that far behind. That's all we can handle.
It's the people who are watching Disney Plus, and there's certain sector of people. It's
No, I'm just saying that like just like that it is a big swing to have a like cis female like some white characters. I don't know. I don't know what all of the
they have an Asian girl.
they do have a
Rose. She's phenomenal.
She's amazing.
And she got so much flack. People were so pissed off that she was in the movies.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
she's one of my favorite characters
Rose
in
is
the
great.
entire
It's
series.
just such a bummer because it's like it seems exhausting to get.
But then you watch the Rise of Skywalker, which I hate. I did not like the Rise of Skywalker. I won't even say unpopular opinion. Here's an unpopular opinion. The Last Jedi kicks ass. I love that movie. I love everything about that movie. And Rose is one of the things I love about that movie. And you're right. And she had to endure so much unnecessary hate because not all fans, but there is that, unfortunately, that leftover toxic part of the Star Wars fandom. I mean, there's there could be any toxic people in any fandom, but just the fact that she just doesn't want to associate with Star Wars anymore.
Oh, really?
I mean, it just
That is so sad.
I mean, I can't confirm or deny that, but
Okay.
but
that's very sad because I adore her.
yeah, and then Rise of Skywalker comes out and she has one scene, and then the movie just goes without her, and I was so angry. I was so upset.
Yeah, it just feels exhausting how hard it is to fight for the representation where you're like, shouldn't we be past this by now? Like, it just, I don't know. It feels, it's hard. I've spent this whole podcast being very down on representation, so, I mean, I'm trying to.
Well, that's another thing that was really cool about Rogue One. You have you have Diego Luna, you have Riz Ahmed, Felicity Jones, Forrest Whitaker. I mean, this is a stacked cast.
Yeah.
Of all kinds of different people.
Yeah, it definitely made me be like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, the performances and the characters, definitely, I was like, oh, I feel engaged by this as someone who doesn't know any of the Star Wars characters.
That's the sign of a good movie. You know nothing about Star Wars except for the holiday special.
Right. So
So ridiculous.
these characters you don't know anything about other than this movie.
It
So.
is a starting place.
But it is
because-
kind of sad because I did like them. And
then they're all dead.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd like to see them go on more missions. They work together. They work really well together.
Yeah,
as
they
a
were
team.
a very good team. I was like expecting someone in the team to be like, "Rob, I'm gonna sabotage the whole thing," and I was like, "Oh, it's so nice." I like team, I like movies that center around a team of people working together.
It's found family. Well, then you'd love the
It's like
original
the
Star
Suicide
Wars
Squad.
because that's what the
Yes.
original Star Wars is all about.
Okay, so you've seen Rogue One now. So
Yes.
does this give you any cause, any want to go on and maybe watch just at least the first trilogy?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it would definitely be interesting. There's such big cultural phenomenon, kind of like touchstones. I don't have any like knowledge to give. But then I also sometimes feel like I've seen a bunch of Marvel movies, but I feel like I feel equally unequipped to talk about it in conversation as well. Like, it does sometimes feel like with the bigger franchises that you just never get to a point where you could actually talk to fanboys unless you, like, truly care very deeply in a way that I, like, never can muster the energy to care that deeply about. I don't like things that there's just so much content to know about. But I would be interested to see, like, the movies in... I've also wanted to see the movies in order because I think it would be fascinating in like movie timeline order.
Right, not the machete order, but in actual order of release.
Yeah,
no, the other way around. I would like to see it in order.
Okay. But now, where would Solo come in? Because I'm not sure where that.
It doesn't
would that
have
be in
a time
between the trilogy, the second trilogy, which is now the first trilogy, and the second. I mean, it's definitely before 77, so
right?
Before New Hope,
right?
It takes place.
I in my head, and I could be totally wrong. In my head, it goes Revenge of the Sith, Solo, Rogue One, A New Hope.
There's definitely a Wikipedia article that will just tell you, so I'm not too worried about this part of it.
Yeah.
But I just think, who gets the opportunity to be an adult and have never seen Star Wars and then see them all in the weirdest order?
You are a rare breed.
Yeah.
And I guess the Christmas special, I don't really know where that goes in chronologically.
Yeah, it goes in the garbage.
It goes in the garbage. It goes away to die.
That got retconned instantly. That was not one of the ones
so this thing
was
before it came out.
So this thing was so bad that George Lucas went around the country like looking for every single copy of this thing he could find, so that he could take them all and destroy them.
That's why so bad. I remember it was the first time I saw it was a UU like Why Are You, which is the like kind of teenagers in the UU church. We like one of our counselors had like the a VHS recording that I think was ripped onto a DVD, but like had all the commercials and everything in it. It was one of the few copies that was like circulating around, and like we all got together because we could watch it all together. So it was very fun.
I didn't see it until YouTube because someone.
Yeah, because then it was on YouTube, and then I made them see it because no one in the family had seen it but me.
And then Winter made us watch it again this past year.
Oh no!
Winter's seen it twice now at Christmas.
God. I think my parents are just like, how do we produce two of these?
It's so true.
Because Winter and I both love so deeply to watch bad things.
I mean, it like, look, I get the appeal. I understand. It is glorious in its terribleness. It is just
pretty amazing.
The thing that I find really amusing is you guys are watching it and you see this horrible thing. I'm watching this and I see a whole lot of actors that I know from that time period. Yes. So I remember know who all these people
I watched it with you and you kept telling us who people were, so I know that.
Right, so I know what they've done and what kind of humor this is and where this comes from, and I can sit there and go, oh my God.
I adore B. Arthur's Cantina song because it's just so tonally, just the whole thing just, and so she can have this weird ass number. Oh, I love it.
Love it so much. I mean, nothing in it makes any sense or feels in any way reasonable.
Watching the sex video.
The sex oh my God.
Just the fact that that's even in there.
Love it so much.
Who is this for? Like, I always ask myself, who is this for? Because
this is for.
It was trying to be for everyone, and in the end became for no one.
And I love the ending when they're all singing the Life Day song, because it pans over to like Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and they just do not want to be there, and you can tell it's just oozing out of every pore in their body.
Like, I still celebrate Life Day.
You celebrate Life Day.
Except for I think it comes every 100 years or some weird thing.
So, no, what I'm wondering is, like, they have the Star Wars lands at the Disney parks now, right? So Christmas rolls around, right? Do they celebrate Life Day?
Oh, I'm sure they don't.
No.
I believe in the Star Wars canon universe that is only the Christmas special. So So this is all part of the alternate universe of kind of like a one-off of like, the 30 franchise things that have gone along. Yeah.
They've tried to take back the narrative. There is I haven't watched it yet, but there is a Lego Star Wars holiday special on Disney Plus.
Oh
that's
my God.
apparently it's pretty good.
I could definitely, it's like making fun, it's like a Robot Chicken kind of thing.
Yeah, but obviously
That's
not as
what
raunchy as Robot Chicken.
Less
'Cause it's
raunchy.
Disney.
So
Because
no
Disney,
grandpa,
yeah.
no grandpa in there.
No, grandpa in
no
his
grandpa
sex
in there.
video.
I must say though, if you haven't seen them, the Robot Chicken Star Wars specials, I think there's 2 of them. This is pre-Disney. They're great. They're really great.
Yeah. Well, this will, maybe at some point I'll come back, watch. But I don't know. Are there any
I was
other
gonna say,
blind
are there any
characters?
blind characters?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually had forgotten that there was a blind character in this one. When I read the thing, I looked it up. That's how I got the interview. And I'm like, oh, right. Yes, I remember him. But I had erased everybody because they all died.
I've had this in my back pocket for a long time. And every so often I bring it up and I'm like, oh, Sky, we should do Rogue One. And then we just end up doing something else.
Yeah, but it worked out great because you have even if you only saw Rogue One in the theater, Mom, you have a lot of Star Wars enthusiasm to make up for my complete lack of Star Wars knowledge or enthusiasm.
I saw every single Star Wars movie the day it hit the theaters, even the ones that I hated. I saw them all
Isn't
once.
that a Simpsons joke where the comic book guy is like going to see one of the Clone Wars ones and he's like, this was the worst movie ever. He'd seen it like 3 times on opening day.
This was the worst movie ever. I've seen it 3 times.
Something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about
I
right.
mean, just the audacity of the Clone Wars. I mean, it is the first 20 minutes are these really horrible Asian stereotype aliens talking about the Trade Confederacy, and I just could feel myself
that
slowly
sounds
slipping
It's
away.
so boring.
It is so boring.
So boring.
It does sound really great.
And I'm not.
It's so bad.
Oh, you'll love it, Sky. You'll absolutely adore it. And I'm not saying that like the Star Wars has to be action. Like I love character development. I love everything. But I'm just like,
Whoever thought that was entertaining?
it's not, and it's so bad.
I mean, I don't know. It's been pretty entertaining watching the trade wars in our country.
Yeah. Well, then maybe you would enjoy
Yeah,
it.
you'd probably enjoy it. Honestly.
Well, I tell you, when I was 16, I saw Star Wars. If I saw that at 16, I wouldn't have understood any of it, and I would have just fallen asleep during it.
Well, that is what happened when I was however old and saw like the second of the prequel
Yeah.
trilogy. But yeah, I mean, okay, we have a movie with a blind character. I know he is not the most screen time of any Star Wars character, the most well known.
But but the screen like that, and I think that's a credit to Donnie Young and the director, because every single time he's on the screen, it's worth it.
Yeah. I would have loved if he was like a character in a TV show.
Oh, definitely.
Like that would have been so good. Like I liked his you know what was so funny? This movie was weirdly, I kept having random flashes to Quest for Camelot.
Oh God, no.
Because it's also about a girl who gets abandoned and her parents like die weirdly at the beginning of the movie. And then she's like going off on her own and finds like a magical blind person who like accompanies her and like
You're completely right. Oh my God.
and then there's like a round table that they're all meeting at and trying to figure it out, and it's like weird like a lot of things like Quest for Camelot.
Oh my God.
Also, it's interesting too because we just Conrad
songs,
and
though, didn't
No
Quest for
songs.
Camelot?
No, there were no,
Yes,
but there
they
was
did.
some pretty. I mean, some of the songs in this movie apparently made it to the top of the charts, but
No,
the original
that was
movie
in
came out.
77, not now,
I
not
said,
any of these.
no, I'm saying, well, but we heard Darth Vader's theme.
Yes, that's true. No, the Miko did a version of the Cantina song.
Nice.
And that got a lot of airplay, and then they had like a 4-minute or something of the Star Wars thing, and both of them were like number one.
Nope, that's the Imperial March.
Yep,
So Star Wars is the one that goes da na 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 na
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes.
Oh my god. I just hear those notes in my brain.
Yep, it just explodes.
Yeah.
That's why I was so looking forward to the opening crawl, and then it didn't happen. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I feel a little cheated. But then the
Yes,
end,
Star Tours is what I think of when I think of that in Disneyland.
Star Tours is great.
Yeah, but anyway.
Blind character. Blind guy.
Blind guy.
He was
Blind
awesome.
guy. Yes.
He was. I liked him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I thought that it would have just it really would have been nice to have more of him.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
He doesn't like, because we have a few other like kind of threads of other people on the crew, and like we have to develop entirely and then kill off every single
Right.
character. So there's just
not
so
only
much
that,
you have to do in this movie.
Everybody had to have a noble death.
Right.
Right.
Every
So they're-
single
Right,
character.
which was like, that was just kind of like, I was like, they took like probably 4 days to like figure out just how they were gonna get every character they wanted to set up to like have some important. They were like, how can there be that many things that need to get done and also kill you? Like that, I was just like, the climax was so distracting because I was just like, what? That's just, oh my god, it must have taken so much work to do that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not gonna lie, for me the climax is great. Like, there are parts that I love, but I kind of sort of this time felt myself checking out just on the tiniest bit.
I checked out a decent amount. I mean, it definitely had that feeling of like action. The blind person gets bored by action kind of vibes that we were talking about before recording. We were talking about the Suicide Squad and how we were both like, yeah, it was good. All the action was like also had quippy dialogue, so it wasn't
Right.
boring. And like this doesn't really have that. It's like a lot of things that are happening visually, and even though we do have really great audio descriptions, there's still only so much of like someone describing people fighting that's like, it just gets really boring if it's not broken up with some like actual character stuff and
I
humor
think,
or something.
Yeah, I think Chirrut got the coolest death out of everybody's, honestly, though. I mean, because he's just,
Yeah.
the Force is with me, I'm one with the Force, and then he pulls the switch, and he's like, yeah. Yeah.
It is like, why didn't he do that on the way back? Because he just like,
Because
he's
he'd
a
done
hero.
it. I don't know. He was the hero, so he didn't need to do it anymore. It didn't make
Right.
any
Yeah,
sense.
that doesn't
Right.
make sense because humans have like a real thing programmed in their brain that they don't want to die. And like when you could just say something to not die, your brain will be like, do that. Like,
But everybody had to die,
Right.
so you had to come up with a way. You
right.
had to
See,
die
that's the problem is
nobly.
everyone had to have a job.
Right.
So like we had like the person who set up the router, and then we had the other person who was like at Comcast who was like flipping the switch, and then we had like the person who had the gates to like who was manning the doors to the archive, and
Yep.
then we had
Right.
two different people at the archive, which I
Right.
guess neither of them die until the very end.
They're it's Diego Luna and Felicity Jones, and
Our main
they're
characters.
our main characters, and they're the last ones to go.
And they don't actually really die in a noble way. They just die still being on a place that's getting like basically nuclear bomb.
Well, okay, but
right?
here's the one thing I like about that though. I don't like that they died or anything, but I do like that this movie does not focus at all on romantic at all. Like, everybody it's the crew, and they all have platonic relationships because they could have easily.
Well, they
kept
do set
waiting
them
for
up.
it. You kept
You kept
waiting
for them
for
to
it.
kiss or something,
Yeah.
and they don't, and they hug at the end, and they're friends, they're comrades in arms, and
they're about to die.
They're about to die, and they've
So
accepted
they
it.
also kind of had some sexual tension. Them and then like our blind
The
character.
only people in this movie who have any sexual tension are Chirrut and Baze.
I just wanted it.
That's it.
I really just wanted Diego Luna
No,
to have
Alan
sexual
Tudyk
tension.
had
Oh.
with what's his name?
Diego Luna. I can't for the life of me. I'm like, what was Diego Luna's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, yes, I'll give you that.
Yeah, there was a lot of
There's
sexual
a lot of
tension
sexual
there.
tension, which is
There's
great.
a lot
I
of
love
that.
it. Katie
I'm
was
so
so
jealous.
just the best.
Yeah.
And R2 and 3PO have to make a cameo.
Yes, their little cameo.
That was ridiculous. I
Which,
hated that.
at least that one felt more real than goddamn Leia or Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing freaked.
Well, they're robots.
His
now,
face.
so.
I just didn't like looking at his face
He's very,
at
very,
all.
very-
I don't. Yeah.
See, for you, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I knew Peter Cushing when Star Wars came out. It had Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing in it. It was not, oh, Star Wars, here's these guys. It was, oh, look, there's Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing
yeah.
are in this movie. So,
So meaningless to me, but
yeah.
yeah. What? Okay, so also I have a question. What was Bodhi's character? I kind of lost track of him.
Oh, so he was, and I was like, I love Bodhi. Why do I love Bodhi so much? Bodhi's played by Riz Ahmed, and I was like, oh, that's why I love
he's
Bodhi so much.
awesome.
He's amazing. So he was the pilot that defected from the Empire and got...
Yeah, I loved him.
Yeah. And
He's one of my favorites.
Yes, and he started this whole thing because he was trying to get the message to the rebels, basically.
Right. And then
So he got the message. They knew he was coming. And then when her stepdad, I don't remember names, I'm terrible.
Saul,
know.
I think. I want to call him Saul. Sometimes I
better
heard
call
Saw. Sometimes I heard
Saw.
Forrest Whitaker's character.
Yeah. When he finds him, he thinks it's all a lie. So he has him attacked by that octopi thing. Which is
okay.
makes
That's
him a
what
little
confused me.
crazy because that's what it's supposed to do, but not enough.
Well,
that he
that's what
forgets
confused me.
what's going on. I think partly because he was telling the truth.
Well, I kept being like, is he enlightened now? Because it confused me. His name was Bodhi. I thought it's some sort of like
I feel
Buddhist,
like, I agree with you. I feel like he was safer because he was telling the truth. Because if he had lied, I think that would have like eaten his brain or something. But
Right.
but he was telling the truth, and I feel like it kind of sort of like unlocked his inhibitions in a way because
So
he
it
just
is
was
a
like,
Buddhist thing. Okay.
He just was like, let's go, let's do it. Like
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
And he
it's
was great because he still knew how to...
Bodhisattva kind of, lost the forest and then like was I don't know, it just was distracting
But
to me.
he still was able to, pilot the...
Yeah, that's when I kind of
All of the
lost the
different ships.
thread because I was confused. I was like, isn't
he
there something?
was-
Isn't he? What is going on with his brain then? Because it seemed like it was supposed to be like debilitating thing, and then he just
Right, it
seems
was
to
supposed
not have
to be,
lost
but I
any
think
information.
it looked like it was like he was gone for a little bit, but then they kind of are like, no, you're coming with us, and they pulled him enough that it just sort of came back, and I don't know.
He went through
None of it makes
deepest
sense.
point
No,
and then became enlightened.
I mean, everyone on the crew is wearing a full set of plot armor until the end, basically.
And then it's
So-
just like completely stolen away from them very suddenly, and they're all dead now.
Everybody has to die, but they have to die nobly.
Sure.
Nobly.
Nobly.
It was definitely, there's definitely a feeling of like, especially the fact that it's sandwiched in between content that entirely exists already and that you cannot change it anyway.
Right.
Like, it made it seem kind of weird and like you were just pulling the strings and you needed to get characters that wouldn't have anything to do, like you needed the characters that actually existed in the world to have brief cameos or like not be super central.
And this was the first like a Star Wars story type of movie. So there's people
I
who
thought
are,
it was
who
the
are
only
thinking,
one. Are there any other ones?
I mean,
Solo.
Solo is
Solo is
considered.
also a Star Wars story. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So this could have felt, to a lot of people like a cash grab, and I'm sure for some people it did. But I think for a cash grab, they spent time on this.
Yeah.
Like it's truly, it's not a bad
I mean,
movie.
Marvel
I
has
like it.
changed how much you could just throw around just random characters and stories and just part of the cinematic universe.
Well, but that's
and-
okay. Yes, but that's also like comic book logic. Like you can do whatever the hell you want. People die and come back. People go to other dimensions. There's multiverses. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying you couldn't do anything like that in the Star Wars universe, but for everything that's happened, it's very straightforward. Like you can plot X, Y, Z. This happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And then you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
It's
and
all over
I
the
don't want
place.
to talk about it.
Yeah,
Just
that
so
makes
much.
sense that it's a little bit more continuous. So,
There's a through line.
There's a little-
in the Star Wars universe.
and this movie did definitely feel like, oh, why is there a thing in the like that you can just destroy the Death Star with a little,
And it
backdoor
was
thing?
kind of cool that they gave us a reason for that particular plot hole.
The thing that confused me too was it seemed like that at the end they were using the weakness to. They were like, okay, right now we're gonna go do this now, and I was like, what? I'm sure that happens in the movies. I don't understand.
No, they were not doing it then.
Yeah.
Okay,
because Luke Skywalker is the one who gets to do it. That
right,
doesn't
I
happen
know.
till-
I was like, if this is, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I know it's like in the original movie.
It's in the first movie.
Yeah, in the
because then they have to rebuild the Death Star for no good reason. This is why I am such a big fan of the first movie. Because then they go and they rebuild it, and then the big bad thing is the not quite built Death Star 2.
nice.
Death Star 2. we couldn't come up with a better name, so we were just calling it Death Star 2.
I love that
and then
so much.
in 7, 8, 9, it becomes Starkiller Base, but it's just the Death Star. It's like, you guys, it didn't work the first time. Okay, great. Try it again. Didn't work the second time. Okay. Third time. We're going to do this. Really?
Yeah.
We're going to do it again. It's like, I just imagine like a room of, Imperial soldiers, and they're like the idea guys, right? They're like, what would be a great idea? Let's do it again, but bigger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, too, that there's, like, you would think an empire like that would fall eventually, right? Like, I was like, they're supposed to be Nazis, right? And,
Yeah, the
like, the
rebels
Nazis did
just
fall. And, like, the
attacking.
stormtroopers probably doesn't have anything
And
to do with Nazis.
That's the other thing that's really sad is all this time goes by and the rebels don't seem to be any. They keep getting a foothold, and then all of a sudden, nope, the rebels are down.
There's
and
a
are fighting to get up
futility
again.
about
Yeah.
everything, and like it's interesting because it's like takes so many very specific allegories with it. It doesn't cover up in any way, but just like uses like stormtroopers, Bodhi.
I brought that point up with a friend. Like, the rebels just have to keep fighting, and my friend was like, "Well, it's called Star Wars. It's not called peace talks. It's called Star Wars."
But really, wars is all of history as well. Like, so but there's like a feeling of like, why is it these two groups? Like, both of those groups would evaporate within a decade or two. Like, those are not stable, like, things. Like, they're both extremely unstable political movements.
Well, the rebels,
you would think that they would just burn out brighter at some point, but
they kind of, I'm not going to say change. They evolve. I mean, the rebels become the new. I think it's the New Republic. Yeah,
Okay.
the New Republic, and the Empire becomes the First Order, which is where we're at now.
Wait, so the First Order is
what's going on in the verse these days.
But what does it mean?
It means that they're just calling themselves something.
So they just have different names.
It's the Empire 2.0, and they build bigger Death Stars.
Right. They build bigger Death Stars, and they changed their costumes a little bit.
Yes, they did change their costumes.
Did they
a little bit.
And they're not
colonize more
clones.
planets?
They were
or-
clones in Star Wars, but I guess they're not clones
No,
now.
they're
Because that's how we got Finn.
right, because they're people who are taken and like programmed, basically, or brainwashed, essentially.
Okay, but do they like colonize more planets? Like, where is the Empire how much land do they have? What are they up to? I don't even fully understand.
I'm gonna go with yes. Like, their goal is to rule the galaxy, so yeah.
But how are they doing? I mean, obviously they haven't conquered everything.
No, they conquer things, and then they get, beaten back a little bit, and then the rebels all gang together at the last minute and come in and attack.
Yeah.
And it looks like they won, and they get awards and things, and then they're back not winning, and then they have to do it all over again, and it's
like a will they, won't they, almost.
Actually, that whole situation reminds me of another reason why I dislike Rise of Skywalker so much. Like, Rogue One is able to they actually like did it. They actually made that sacrifice because they had to, and they chose to tell that story, in
A Star Wars story.
A Star Wars story. In Rise of Skywalker, we are given multiple instances of character death. Chewbacca, CP3O, and then they just all of a sudden 40 minutes goes by. Oh, it's okay, they're back. Okay, cool. I'm not saying I want to see Chewie and 3PO die. Absolutely not.
I don't want to see them die.
No, never. But I'm like, please, stop faking. Like, if you're not going to do it, stop. Just stop.
I will tell you something when we're off the air. I don't want to do it on, it's too much, but
Gotcha.
Okay.
I have something to say.
Wait, is it inappropriate?
No, No, it's just it's
It's
you
a
know, we're talking
wormhole.
about the other Star Wars. We don't need to be talking about them. We're supposed to be talking about Rogue One.
True.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I think you're kind of done talking about Rogue One.
I think we did it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've kind of dipped our toe into an ocean of content that everyone's way more excited about the ocean than the where the toe is. But also, I don't really have good context for the universe. But I did coming into this as a Star Wars novice. It's kind of cool. There's a lot of deserts. The world building's interesting.
There's a lot of deserts.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
desert.
there's a lot
I mean,
of
I think
deserts.
maybe I would
Tatooine.
love the original
Jakku.
trilogy because I'm just like, okay, so how does the Empire work? Like, what are the different how big is the Empire?
And you know
How is
what?
the trade between the two of them?
You know what? You should write all of those questions down. I'm not joking. You should write all of those questions down and pose them to Star Wars Twitter because I swear to God, people can give you essays on how all of this stuff works. Like I'm not joking.
This is probably something if I started to get slightly more into understanding it. I've been at a party. If I met someone, I would talk with them for a while, just ask them questions about the universe.
Let's talk about the Empire
definitely
and
my vibe.
their trade routes in the galaxy.
Yeah, so if you ever see me at a party and know a whole lot about Star Wars politics and lore, you can tell me and then I'll ask you a bunch of random questions to try to better understand it.
But did you have fun? I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
You watch these movies because you enjoy them. It's fun to escape. It's fun to see all of these different worlds and meet all of these people. So
yeah, I
had
thought
fun.
it was fun. I think I can definitely. I think part of the problem is this is it's such nostalgia content, and it's nostalgia for nothing for me. It's of just
But it's
being
just
aware
a
of it.
story. You don't need to know anything.
No, but it's still, I think a lot of the Star Wars appeal is nostalgia because most people see it unlike me, they see it when they are 16. That is the majority of Star Wars fans saw it at an impressionable age, even if they were seeing movies that had already been in the theaters and were long out of the theaters. That's still, most people are introduced to it as teenagers. I know most of the teenagers I knew when I was a teenager already knew about Star Wars. I just somehow just
I would
missed
say-
that day in class and never really.
I would say most people get introduced to it when they're younger, honestly. Maybe
Than
not
teenagers?
Yeah, maybe not
Well,
super
yeah, I
young,
mean, that's
but-
the thing is you usually are not 28 years old and okay, well, maybe, in the next few years I'll start looking into
You should
this.
listen to, I think it's called Newbies. It's one of Nicole Byer's podcasts.
Oh, I love her.
And yeah, me too. And the first couple of episodes of that particular podcast are her and a friend watching Star Wars, and neither of them have seen it.
Oh my god.
Oh,
It is
neither of them.
hysterical. It's
Okay.
incredible.
Oh, so I need to find another person who's never seen them do a podcast.
I think they were going through Lord of the Rings now, or they just finished up
whatever.
with that one.
I
But
know all those.
yeah, but
She loves Lord of the
Yeah, I was
Hey,
always
there
into
we
Lord of
go.
the Rings.
Yeah.
but yeah, you should check it out.
Did
It's
something
it's
right.
very fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know. I'm
job.
such a disappointment. But yeah, I think it was a fun watch. I'm
so
terrible with
making you watch the
escapist
rest.
content.
I can't wait. I want to be there for that. Honestly, I think that's.
I'll just have
that's-
to come and visit for a week
Oh my
so I can
God.
force
Yes.
you to see
Oh,
them
no.
all.
Oh my God! Yes, that's our bonus content right there.
Yeah,
I want
absolutely.
all of your
Separate
reactions.
podcast. Yeah.
Yep.
That would be good. Subscribe to the podcast and give us some likes and expand engagement so we can get some bonus content up and running.
We should probably rate this puppy though.
Yeah. Do you? Should we, Mom? You should get a rating. You should rate the quality of the movie with stars as a sighted person. With Star Wars.
Star Wars, but how
Lord.
many?
Hey, yeah, how many Star Wars?
I mean, how many have there been? There have been too many.
Yeah, 14 or something movies, right?
Oh Lord.
Well, I definitely rate this above the...
Yeah, what do you rate it? Okay, what is if you were to rank them around, where is it, and what is maybe above and below?
Well, I definitely put it above the second trilogy, which is the first trilogy, so 1 through 3. I definitely put it way above that.
My favorite of the movies, we're just guessing.
You're gonna love them so much. Oh God.
I put it up. Probably put it up above. Wait, I always forget which one. It's Star Wars, Empire, and then Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I put it above Jedi.
Nice.
Okay. So
Yeah.
around what number do you think it is?
I don't know. I like the
Rough
new ones.
estimate.
5, 6, something
Okay.
around there.
Okay. So like probably
Okay.
middle
Yeah.
of the road.
Definitely better than some, but everybody dies. So it goes down just because everybody dies.
That's fair.
Nobly, but dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, a noble death is better than a noble life, everyone says in movies, but that's not true.
I disagree.
It's almost like if you live longer, you can do more noble shit. It's actually unfortunate when people have to die nobly. It's not something we want to promote, but like also if that happens, it's kind of people to do that when it's their only choice, but still, we would like to prevent that as much as possible. So yeah, I agree with that. So okay,
That's my rating.
I
Yes.
think that's good, and then we'll bring our blind perspective to the table. I'll go first. I'm just gonna give it a 2200. I thought it was. I liked our blind character a lot, and I always try to focus really specifically on our blind character, and I think that he fit really well into the Star Wars universe as a disabled character, like I was saying before, and I wanted to see more of him, so it's like one of those where I'm rating him as a character, but then I wish he was like a even more central character in the movie, because he also is like, and if he was going to be as non-central as he was, I wish he was in more movies, because like you just don't get a lot of him, but he could work as a ancillary character, but the fact that he's an ancillary character for one movie in a bunch of movies,
Well, they have to do
sad.
another Star Wars story that takes place with the two of them and their relationship and how they got to be
how they met.
together, how they met,
Yeah.
and then
Great.
guarding the
That's what we want.
crystals.
Yes.
Yes.
That
I want
would be
that
so
movie.
dope.
Yeah.
I would watch Star Wars, the movies, just so I could get the context for that. I would
Okay.
definitely
All right.
love that. Yeah, so
We'll let them know.
Yes,
Yeah.
Disney will call. Hey, Disney, our people will call your people. We'll get
Yeah.
something rolling.
and we're like,
Yeah.
it has to be gay romance.
They have to. Yes, they have to be in love. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's non-negotiable.
Yep.
Is there queer people in the Star Wars universe?
So, yes, not as prominently in the movies. I'm not quite as familiar with the cartoons because I've only really watched the Clone Wars. I haven't seen Rebels. I haven't finished watching the Bad Batch yet. But in the books, actually, is where more of that, more LGBTQ representation has been happening. Bashir, I think his first name is Bashir. I haven't read the Aftermath trilogy in quite some time, but he's an Imperial defector, and he's an amazing character, and he's LGBTQ.
Cool.
And one of the saddest and kind of most beautiful scenes in the book is he's the Empire don't like gay people, basically, because they're the evil Empire, and he's talking about how he had to torture and get information out of another defector. It's awful, but
Let's get.
the books are great.
Ours is going to be a gay romp with a blonde
Yes.
guy just going around fighting fucking stormtroopers or whatever they do in Star Wars, and like
killing stormtroopers.
and with our sight guide fighting and canes.
Yep.
With big
Sword.
weapons.
Big
'Cause He
weapons.
is big weapons.
Yeah, it's just
huge.
destroy.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So that ours is going to be a fun romp, and
Yes.
it will no like the let's watch gay people die.
Yeah, no.
Because they can't even die in that movie because it has to be when they're alive, and it's not going to take place during
Right,
Rogue
'cause it
One.
takes
So
the-
they have to
exactly.
survive the whole
Yeah.
movie.
Yes.
Yes.
To make it make
All right,
continuity
I like
sense.
this.
Me too.
Good
This is
idea.
great. This is great.
So this is my rating and pitch for a movie. Melissa, what are you going to rate it?
Oh, I'm sitting pretty honestly at a 2400.
Nice.
I really loved revisiting this. It just reminded me of how much I really like this movie and how much I enjoyed it. And really getting to concentrate more on Donnie Yen's character, or Yen, sorry, on his character, and learning more about his character's backstory has been really amazing and super interesting. And K2SO also, just the cast is great, and it's just so compelling, and the fact that it's just one little compact story, and it's done really well. So
Yeah, it's one compact Star Wars story.
Yep. A Star Wars story.
I just, every time we have a movie with a subtitle, I just repeat the subtitle a million times. Find subtitles very funny. It's a weird thing that I do. Then next week, though, we
Yes.
won't have Mom. Sadly, for our next episode. But so she won't be able to talk about a classic Sky movie, which is a French documentary.
Oh yeah, now we're getting back into it.
It's sorry, it is not French. It is French Canadian. Sorry, it's
Nice.
in French, but it is French Canadian. That because I saw that it was in. I watched the trailer and it was in French, and so it's like, oh, it's a French movie. But then I looked it up to say what it was, and it's actually Canadian. So just to clarify, but it is called Antoine. It is from 2008. I think there's a couple movies called that. So it's the one from 2008 that's a French-Canadian documentary about a little blind boy in his life. So I figured that was kind of very similar to the movie we watched this week. So.
Oh, completely.
So yeah, that is what we're watching next week. But this week, we have what our blind asides are, and Mom, you get to do a blind aside as well.
Cool,
So
cool.
we want to
Yay.
hear what your blind.
Okay, so I get to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Go
All right.
for it.
So, speaking of whatever.
Dyslexia people are like
LGBT.
queer.
Queer. Winter and I, Sky's sister, just finished watching She-Ra.
Yay!
And it is delightful. It is very queer friendly. Many queer characters in it. And it is just so much fun. And I've been thinking about it a lot ever since we finished it. It's She-Ra something else. There's more to the name because it's the new one. But it's all available on Netflix, and it's 4 seasons. It's 4 or 5 seasons, but 2 of the seasons are actually 1 season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's 5 seasons, but season 2 and 3 are actually, each season is 13 episodes, but one's 6 episodes and one's 7 episodes. So it kind of,
Okay.
yeah. But it is delightful, and it is much fun, and animated. Yes.
What
did I
is the
mention that?
plot?
It is
Vaguely.
way too
It's
hard.
impossible to say the plot.
It is about a girl who finds a sword and then becomes She-Ra, who is a hero, and her trying to figure out her allegiances because she was raised by the bad guys, and then
That's cool.
winds up getting together with the good guys and all the magic and fighting the bad guys who used to be her friends. So
And
there's
family.
a lot of
it's like
and
the
family.
Rogue One.
There's a
actually.
lot of dichotomy there.
Yes.
The interesting thing to me about it is that none of the bad guys, in the end, none of the bad guys are really bad.
Yeah.
Not as much like Rogue
And
One.
that was a really cool thing that they did. So you got to know everybody as the show went on.
That sounds like very fun.
It was very cool.
It's so good. It's one of my become one of my top cartoons in the past couple of years.
Yeah,
I love it.
It was so much fun, and it's a quick watch, so I highly recommend it.
Well, right now Conrad and I are going through Steven, but
Yes,
Steven.
finally.
I know.
Steven.
yes.
Oh my
Steven.
gosh.
Kept being like,
Yes.
you're gonna like the show, and he was like, oh, I'm sure I will. And then we were watching, he's like, I like the show a lot.
Yes.
Yes. Well, give She-Ra a chance. Dad saw like the first episode or 2, and was just like, yeah, this is fun, but I don't think I need to see it. So Winter and I just zipped through the entire show. And Dad's wrong. So I'll probably force him to watch it at some point.
When I was helping Tyler recover from his surgery, he hadn't seen She-Ra at the time either. And I was like, cool, well, you have to be on your butt for a couple of weeks, so we're going to watch all of She-Ra. And he absolutely adored it.
Yeah,
it's so great.
Noelle Stevenson created it, and she definitely has had something to do with other things. Oh, and one of the people working on it was Chuckles Austin, which is really funny because it's Chuck Austin and Chuck Austin. Because of Chuck Austin, I got to go on a honeymoon. So how's that for... Because he drew 2 issues of Zot when Dad and I just got married, so that we could go on our honeymoon.
That's so funny.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, oh my God, it's Chuck.
That's very funny. That's
So,
a cute story.
Oh, the title that you're looking for is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
That's it. Thank you.
Nice. Awesome. Well, maybe I'll watch it. I'm always watching TV shows on Netflix.
You'll get there eventually.
Yeah,
You'll
you
get
gotta
there.
watch it. It's good.
Okay. What my blind said this week is you guys are all gonna be back because I'm just gonna do the Portland escape room.
Do it! Yay!
Well, I wouldn't take that away from you.
No.
But this it's not something that you two have experienced. No, I'm just kidding. We went to the escape room. The Portland Escape Rooms is a company that does escape rooms here in Portland. As
Surprise,
says on the
surprise.
tin. But I had done escape room in an escape room, one singular escape room with you, Mom, when I visited you in Southern California. But then you were here to visit, and so we went to. I was like, we should go to another escape room, and
I'll go anytime.
and we did the fortune teller room, and when Winter was like, Melissa has to come, my sister, so Melissa came with us, and so I was like, oh yeah, that'd be fun, yeah, we just had a blast. I don't know, I mean, like, it's something that you guys could equally talk about as me.
I love the fact that Winter wanted Melissa to come because she does murder mysteries and because you do fortune telling.
Yes.
So
like,
she figured you would be an
tarot and
asset.
things.
And when
Yeah.
Sky made some comment about 2 blind people, Winter was like, oh, right, I forgot about that.
Well, that was the best part, was that
my gosh.
we needed 2 different hits in both of them, even though, for the record, we had like 4 sighted people there, so but like the 2 hits that we got were specifically where to look, and also in a place we had already looked to look again because there was more stuff to find there, so it was literally just about finding items.
2 puzzles in that last room, and we combed that last room. We absolutely combed it.
But the thing
and
is,
we missed 2 puzzles.
We solved the puzzles. We just
Right, it
didn't
was just
have
we
a
didn't have the
place to
tools.
put the solution in. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just like we needed to find a door that we couldn't find, and we needed
Which
to find.
was really a cane height, but we just put our canes on the corner of the room because we were like, well, we're gonna be running around, we can't be holding. But if we had the canes, we could have gone. So it was a dark room, so we really should have gone in with our canes and been
Yes.
like, let's make sure
Like,
we
tap,
didn't
tap,
miss
tap, tap,
anything.
tap, tap. Yep.
But you missed the very important part, which is we escaped.
Yes,
We
you
did it. We did escape with we had 10
4
minutes.
minutes?
To
No, I think it was only like
No, we
4
had
or
4
5,
minutes,
yeah.
but
Okay.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So we did it, but
we did spend a decent amount of time being like, we're missing something. I don't understand what's going on.
We have the solution to this problem.
But where does it go?
Where does it go?
Yeah. So.
It was super fun. It was a really really awesome and well designed escape room, and the puzzles were really fun. They were challenging, but not so challenging that except for that token puzzle, I never ever want to see that puzzle ever again. But each one of us, I felt like each one of us solved a puzzle on our own.
Yeah.
Which was really awesome.
It was really fun. The hosts for our room were really great. We had
They were
not
awesome.
as great experience in LA with the hosts.
no, our hosts
who
in
may
LA
have
had
been
been
on their
terrible.
phone the whole time.
Oh,
no.
no, they were in another
Really?
room because they didn't want to get close because of COVID.
Oh, yes, of course.
So they were in another room, but their big hint was to tell us to go try to solve a problem that A, we'd already solved, and B, had never been reset, so it was solved when we came in. But
Right,
then
which-
we had solved it.
Right.
Which both escape rooms we did with a similar group, and each time Conrad, the one white male, walks into a room with both of them, and it's like, oh, here's a part of the puzzle, and we find out later that needed to get it. He should not have been able to just open it, but every time he just walks in, it's like, oh, this
I
is
opened
easy.
this, here you go.
I don't necessarily know if I'd call that male privilege. I think maybe lucky charm.
Well, that's what's so ironic. I mean, it's I guess not ironic, but that's what's so funny is that it is so it's like a metaphor for
he walks
for
in
male
the room, just
privilege.
goes, buh, and spits out all the answers.
It was very
it's
funny.
just weird. But yeah.
Aw, that's great.
But yeah, so that is the Portland escape rooms is their
Yeah, highly
creative
recommended.
name, but
Very
they're
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
Super fun.
And Melissa, what?
Right. Last but not least, I have brought you another YouTuber.
Yes.
Actually, I've been going down lots and lots of YouTube rabbit holes, but a YouTuber who's been catching my eye lately is Sarah Zed. She's also in Canada, I believe.
I was gonna say, God, it can't be American.
Yeah. No, not with Zed. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, she does lots of. So I love me a good video essay. Give me like an hour and a half, one topic. I love it. And she just did a really interesting video about the resurgence of Twilight in the popular culture right now. Because believe it or not, if you didn't know, apparently Twilight is a thing again.
Really?
Really?
I was just Googling long YouTube essays about Twilight yesterday.
Okay, well, I will
No, you
send.
weren't.
No, I literally was. Because I was telling Conrad, I was like, there's a lot of Mormon stuff that's in Twilight.
Yes,
and
'cause
so,
she's Mormon.
Right, we were talking about it, but I was like, I bet there's a 30-minute YouTube video about all the Mormon things, and I Googled it. The first hit was a literally exactly 30-minute YouTube video about Twilight's hidden stuff. But
Well,
yeah, anyway.
you really should do yourself a favor and check out Sarah Zed's video. It's great, and it does cover the Mormon stuff, but it covers everything. Like she starts from the beginning, like Twilight happened, and then and she goes through the stages of its cultural lifespan and resurgence, because you really can absolutely track it by the numbers. It's really interesting.
What is the name of it? The video about Twilight?
I believe it's just something like exploring Twilight's resurgence.
Okay.
Or something. I'll send it to you. 'cause
Okay, so I'm
yeah.
wondering how long is it? I'm just
Oh,
wondering
it's
if it's one I
it's
found.
like an hour and a half.
Oh, it's even longer.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to. I mean, yeah, I'm in the market for long form Twilight saga.
Well, she's perfect, and
YouTube
she's really charming and funny, and her videos are incredibly well written and researched.
That's awesome. It's funny. The first thing I thought is, I was like, I bet Melissa will know a good like Twilight long YouTube video essays. This is very weird, honestly.
I think Lindsay Ellis, my other go-to video essay YouTuber, also has some Twilight stuff too.
Okay, cool. I mean, I knew. I just had a hunch. Very
Well,
funny.
you know what I did in Alaska? I got drunk with my friends, and we watched all of them.
I've done that before.
Oh my
Classic.
God!
I've not seen any of them. I haven't read them.
They have great soundtracks.
But I've listened. One of my favorite podcasts is a podcast called Worst Bestsellers, and their very first episode was a Twilight episode, or I think it was their first one. But every year on their anniversary, they do another. So they've done all of the books, and they watched the movies as a extra thing, and then
Nice.
they did a whole Dungeons and Dragons, a D&D Twilight game for one of their, because
the
they ran out of
homebrew?
books because they've been around for several years
I need
now.
to hear this. Oh my
They're-
God!
it's a delightful show. I highly recommend it.
There is
I got 2 in, haha.
Actually, if you really cannot get enough Twilight content in your life, Stephanie Meyer finally published Midnight Sun last year. I know because I got a copy of it from my mom from the library. I don't want to read it, but apparently she read it, and it was a little hard to get into, but she said she quite enjoyed it.
Does it take place in Alaska?
No. This is...
Where does it take
This
place?
is a kind of a retelling, reskinning of the first book from Edward's
Yep,
perspective.
they did this.
Okay, because this reminds me of a story that my dad, when we were in Alaska in the summertime, my dad was looking through pictures.
I told somebody this story yesterday.
It's so weird. This is very weird. But we were looking through pictures of us in Alaska. There's one where we're just standing weirdly in the middle of the day in a parking lot, and it's just like very uneventful. And my dad was like, "Why did we take like multiple pictures in this position?" And then he looked at it. And it's because the time we took them was midnight.
Oh,
and it was still daytime.
Yes.
And so that just made me think of that.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Tourists do it all the time. Yes.
It was a terrible picture.
It's a terrible picture.
And it's very boring.
But
It's
I'm
like
sure
we could have had like a watch or something. Like we just didn't.
It took us a long time to actually figure out what we were, because
it's only cool because of the geotags, I guess.
I don't think there was one. I don't think there was that.
Well, the
yet.
metadata.
Right,
No,
was-
the metadata probably said
It was
what time
ours. I think it was a real camera.
Oh.
Because this was before. Remember, you got your iPhone on that trip.
No, it was afterwards. But I mean, maybe. But I
You got
assume
your
that a
iPhone
digital
after-
camera probably has metadata.
Maybe. But you got your iPhone after that.
No, I know. I am the one who remembers how time works, but I just think the digital camera that's not an iPhone still has metadata. That's all I'm
you're right.
saying.
It might. But I think it was just a final realization that, oh my God, we were standing out there at midnight, and that's why we have this ridiculous picture of us next
Why
to a
would we have
boring
even
hotel
taken
sign.
the picture if we didn't have the metadata, though?
Jeez,
I have no
at least,
idea.
At least go to Coldfoot, go to the Arctic Circle and take that picture.
Well, we were
My
in
mom wanted
Fairbanks.
to.
So you were close.
Yeah,
You were only a couple
close.
miles.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, off mic, we'll do some Fairbanks talk, but I think we've tangented enough.
Yes.
But come back next week and you'll hear about Canada, so maybe we'll get some, like, white horse, and I don't know. Our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our YouTube is Citizen White Cane Podcast. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. If you'd like to, our Instagram is Citizen White Cane, and so is our Facebook. Our email, citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voice message, there's a link in the show notes. What's your Star Wars story?
That's good. Yeah. That's it. That's what I want to know.
And what other pitches do you have for one-off?
Or will you write ours for us?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Will you
If
write
you
our
know
pitch,
anyone
please?
in at
That we can
Disney
send it to.
let them know that we have a very great pitch. That's or I don't know, if there's a weird French documentary about children you want us to watch, any of those, there's a link in the show notes, and come back next week, and we'll see you then. I'm looking forward to it. Bye.
Bye.